Hello, I'm Kerry-Ann ten Hoorn Boer. I'm the Senior Legal Advisor here at SEESA Labour in Durban.
Hello, I'm Carla Meiring and I'm one of the legal advisors in our call centre at SEESA Durban.
Today we're going to be discussing the union's right to access during the national lockdown.
Yes, Kerry, we've been receiving quite a few inquiries from employers as to whether or not they should be allowing union representatives access to their workplace during these unprecedented times.
I think before we go any further, it's very important to establish exactly what we mean by access to the workplace. Section 12 of the Labour Relations Act says that a union official of a representative trade union has the right to access the company premises in order to recruit members, meet with their members, or to serve their members' interests. This means that a union official may, outside of working hours, come to the company premises to meet with the employees. This is normally done either before or after work or during the employee's lunch break. Bearing in mind that the union also has the right to meet with the employer in order to discuss matters of mutual interest. Such meetings are normally held on notice at a date and time suitable for both parties. Now is the time where we see the unions are wanting to engage in wage negotiations. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've also seen an increase in the amount of short-term consultation and retrenchment consultations. All of these meetings, the union has a right to represent its members at. It's important to note that the rights in terms of Section 12 is conferred subject to any conditions that are necessary to the well-being and health and safety of the employees, as well as to safeguard the property, right? This is also necessary to prevent undue disruption of work in the workplace.
Thank you, Kerry. I think that clarifies it. It is important to note that as per the provisions contained in the Labour Relations Act have not been suspended for the duration of the lockdown. The last point which you touched on is especially vital, as I do believe that COVID-19 would have had an impact on how employers will manage and regulate the right of the union representatives to access the company premises. Now, we've seen that there has been an Occupational Health and Safety Directive that has been published, which provides employers with guidelines of measures they will need to impose in order to assist in minimizing the spread of COVID-19. As per the OHS Act, there's an obligation on employers to provide a workplace that is a safe working environment and that is free from risk to the health and safety of their workers. They are also under an obligation to take reasonably practical steps to mitigate and, where possible, eliminate hazards to the health and safety of their workers. Now, this obligation, as per the directive, is not only from the employer towards the employee, but it's also from the employer towards those people who are directly affected by the business activities. These would be people that come into contact with the business premises or with who the employees come into contact with when they are executing their duties. There's definitely measures which the employer will need to put in place to regulate the access to the work premises in terms of these guidelines, but the right has not been suspended.
Right, so having said that, that means that the employer may not unreasonably refuse the union access to the workplace if the company is operating as normal. Am I correct?
Yes, I would say that is correct. It is definitely important to note that the measures which are proposed in the Occupational Health and Safety Directive need to be adhered to. Now, many of us have experienced some of the measures that employers have put into place. These are things, for example, like the taking of temperature of people trying to access the workplace, asking of questions relating to symptom checking for COVID-19, the implementing of social distancing protocols where they limit the space between people, Also implementing of frequent sanitizing protocols, sanitizing of hands, sanitizing of workstations, and also the limiting of interaction between staff, whether it is placing a limit on sharing of tools or sharing of stationery. When any person, union representatives included, try to access the workplace, they would also need to comply with these measures, as they are not only imposed for the safety of the workers, but also the safety of the union representatives.
Understood. But Carla, let's not forget that there are certain employers that, or companies, or perhaps nursing homes, hospitals, who during this time cannot allow access to any persons due to the risk of infection. Would you suggest alternatives? Could they look at perhaps scheduling consultations or meetings via means of Zoom or Skype? Would that be reasonable?
Yes, definitely, I would think so. During the duration of the lockdown, we have seen an increase in the use of video conferencing platforms. I mean, look where we are now. We've also seen that the Labour Court and even the CCMA tend to use this form of communication where it's reasonably practical to do so, which I think speaks to their opinion of it. There's also been a recent Labour Court case where they touched on using Zoom during a consultation process for retrenchment meetings. And they came to the conclusion that using a video conferencing platform does not negate or does not detract from the consultation process in any way. As long as the procedure is still adhered to, the video conferencing platform is only a measure in order to limit the spread of COVID-19, which one will need to be mindful of during this time. So we have seen that people are requesting meetings and consultations to take place by the use of video conferencing software. Businesses are adapting and companies will need to change. It's simply no longer just business as usual anymore.
Well, thank you for that. Should you have any more questions on this topic or any other labour-related issue, kindly contact your nearest SEESA office or have a look at our website.